Hey, everybody. Yes, I'm raw, sweaty, live, look like a pile of shit because I've just been doing a 20-minute workout. I wanted to do a follow-up on my sertraline antidepressant withdrawal facade episode, whatever it is that you want to call it, emotional turmoil. God, bloody hard work. So being on antidepressants, sertraline, for such a long time, 22 years, I came to the realization that I felt well enough. Well, actually, this has happened to me several times, to be fair, and I've tried to come off sertraline several times and with no success. It's actually made me quite ill, mainly because my responsibility, I came off it too quickly. So I put my body into shock and didn't cope very well at all. So this time, I've spent 8 months tempering it down, 8 months, little shaving a little bit off, like a proper addict. Shave. Apart from not more, less. I don't mean to say that judgmentally. That's the way it is, isn't it? Let's face it. So I wanted to share this journey with you because it's really tough. I want to keep my channel raw, alive, real, authentic, and me showing up every day, with the big smiley face on, with the makeup and the hair, and saying how wonderful life is. Yes, there's an element of that is true, but also there's a part of it that isn't true. So I want to show the both sides of my traumatic lived experience, because I think that's really important. It's all very well having these courses and saying heal trauma and recover this and recover that. But to me, there's a disconnect when you don't actually see the reality of what's going on in the background. So first things first, please, if you're thinking of stopping your antidepressants, do what everybody says, consult with your doctor, tell your friends, tell your inner circle. You do not want to go through this alone. You do not want to experience it alone. From my personal experience and my journey, it is really, really tough. And if it wasn't for the fact that I had done so much training, interpersonal work, written a book about it, have all these strategies in place and understand how the mind and the body work and connect together, I would be an absolute mess. So please reach out and get the support you need. I've just finished a 20-minute workout. So yes, I am clothed, but I'm sweaty, I'm hot. But let's get down to the meat of the content I wanted to share with you. So yesterday was a bad day. Yesterday was a bad day because I just wanted to give up. I wanted to go back on the antidepressant. I felt absolutely exhausted, disconnected. So I took some time out yesterday. Well, I did some work in the morning because that's my best time to work. I did the work that I needed to do in the morning. And then after that, it was as if my life force had been absolutely sucked out of me. Wendy didn't exist. All that existed was this soulless, heavy, drained, detached shell of who I am and what I want to be and what I stand for. And it's very easy when you're going through that to feel that, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this? I'm all consumed. It's heavy. So I took some time out. I went down to a river. I bought some chicken and some sticky rice, and I don't eat meat. So if I eat chicken, I eat chicken from a real place of gratitude, a place of thank you. Oh, mosquito. Oh, sorry. I don't like killing things either. Oh, that's early. Oh, sorry. I did say raw, didn't I? When I eat meat, it's from a real place of gratitude, and I really, it's something that I actually need in that moment. I don't eat meat every day without thinking about it. I eat meat very consciously and really mark the occasion. I know it sounds a bit mad, especially if you're a full-on meat eater like I used to be. You go, what are you going on about? But as I've got older, something has shifted, something has changed in me, where I'm just very grateful for any piece of meat that I eat now, because it was an animal once upon a time. Anyway, so I went down to this river. I got myself some sticky rice and some chicken, and I got my journal out, and I was listening to a podcast which was about failure, which is interesting. Normally I wouldn't listen to a podcast about failure, but I thought, I'll stick it on, go for a ride, change my state, change my energy, and start journaling and see what comes up. So the thing that really came up for me is how the brain and body love the familiar. And depression, anxiety, it feeds in on itself. It loves the familiar. It loves the familiarity of the feelings, the rawness of the emotion, the energy that comes with it. It's very much alive, organic. It's fierce, isn't it? It's just eats on itself. And it got me thinking that the brain and the body love the familiar. And the way I was feeling was my old self, how I used to be when I was experiencing depression, isolation, loneliness. Those are all emotions and feelings that are way too familiar for me because of my traumatic upbringing and all the trauma I experienced while I was young and growing up. So that heaviness is something that's very comfortably familiar. It's what the body and the mind knows. It's my trauma default mind setting and body setting. So as I was sitting there listening to this podcast, I'll see if I can find it and pop it below because it was very interesting. And it's the podcast host I really like. He's got a medical background. So he's, he knows what he's talking about. I started to think about, okay, is what I'm feeling real? And what I mean by that is not about the energy, not about feeling like I've lost myself. Is what I'm thinking in terms of I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to be able to get off these antidepressants, I've got no passion, I just feel dead. What's the reality of this? How much of this is true? Because my perception was that it was all true. But as I said, the brain and the body, they love the familiar. So they will create an illusion. And what you're experiencing, what I was experiencing, while part of it was true, a lot of it actually wasn't true. So how do I get to the point where I can figure out what is real and what is just made up in my head? What is just part of the old way of living that I've found myself consumed by? So what I did was I started to think about, okay, where's the proof? Where's the evidence? And I do this a lot with my clients. I will say, if someone says something, I'll go, where's the evidence for that? Tell me about the evidence. Tell me about what's going on, what's showing up. And there's never any evidence. 9 times out of 10, there's never any evidence. And you're like, okay. So you work through that, mirror it back, feed it back. What does that tell you? Okay, so now we know what we're dealing with. So I had to find out what I was dealing with. So what I did was I wrote down some things. I wrote down about my energy, my thoughts, my eating, tiredness, because these are the things that I'm being consumed by. So, and I marked them between a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being awesome, 10 being, I'm dyslexic. I'm not sure I've got this the right way around. 1 being awesome, 10 being a complete failure or miserable. So energy, thoughts, eating, tired. On a scale of 1 to 10. So my energy, I put at 4. So really low. So Besides that, I basically said that I'm pushing myself to go out. So it's a real conscious effort to go out. So my energy is really low. My thoughts I've put at a number 1 because I've become, or was, all consumed by the negative thoughts that were spiraling around in my head. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. This is never going to work. And then starting to worry about the future. So in this spiral of negative thoughts, I've put myself at a 1. Eating, 1 to 10, I put myself as a 10. I'm eating like a trooper. Because, of course, I'm eating like a trooper because I'm burning a lot of energy. All of these negative thoughts, even though you feel heavy, lethargic, don't want to do anything, they burn a shitload of energy. So you need to eat like a trooper. Normally, when I experience depression, I can't eat at all. So this isn't a deep depression. I would set, for me, if you ask me what I think this is, I'd say low-level depression. It's something where I can function, but I have the feelings, the tiredness, the withdrawing, all of the emotions that are associated with it, but I can function because I'm used to living with a state of low-level depression. Eating like a horse. Tired too. Really, really tired. And almost so tired that it's even hard to pick up a pen. That's how tired. Now, of course, I then go back through this and I ask myself what the reality is. Where's the evidence? What's the reality? And then I'm able to see my situation from a completely new perspective. And that perspective was that, at the end of the day, I'm experiencing withdrawal from antidepressants, and that is going to show up, take its toll, is going to change my thoughts. And what it's done is it's slipped me back into what is very familiar. But there's a big difference in my life now, and this is something that I can take credit for. And that is, in the past, I would have just slumped into this. It would have fed in itself. I would have ended up with anxiety, depression, not being able to go out, withdrawn. I'd be really ill. But now I know that this isn't my natural state of being, that I can move and I can shift out of that. So when I ask myself, what's the reality of these situations? Where's the evidence? And dig deeper and find out what's going on, I can create a new perspective. And I can connect to and know that and trust that what's happening are the withdrawal symptoms from me coming off my antidepressants. Too fast, the last bit. So be warned. Don't rush it. It takes the last bit, make the last bit. Not that I'm a doctor, but I would say to myself, make the last bit, shave it down even more, because that last bit, treat it as being more potent than any of the other the reductions it is that you've been taking. You want to make that even smaller each time, because it feels to me like this is 10 times more potent than any of the other reduction it is that I have done. So treat that last little bit with a lot of respect. You'll be doing yourself a favor. You'll be protecting your emotional and your mental health. Yeah, so then what I've done is I've written down what's working well for me. So I spoke to a friend. I went and spoke to a friend last night, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know if to go back on the antidepressants. I thought I was doing the right thing. I've become all consumed. It's all becoming too much. And he's always very honest with me. He said, look, just go back on the quarter of the quarter that is left, and then start tapering down again. And I got home and I thought, right, shan't I? And I thought I did a lot of preparation yesterday. I did a lot of things yesterday to help my mental health for today. So if you've listened to me before, I always say what you're doing today is preparation for tomorrow. So I did a lot yesterday. I went out twice, had good food, I meditated, I exercised, I journaled, I did the work that I needed to do. So I did a lot of preparation for today. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to hang off until the morning and see if there's a difference in my mood. I'm pleased to say there's a significant difference in my mood. And I thought that was really interesting. And I wanted to share that with you because, you know, when you're in the depths of despair and you've hit the bottom and you feel like there's nowhere to go, it feels like there are two things going on for me here. And I'm sure a doctor will be able to explain this better. But it's like I've got the conscious me that wants to break free, wants to be fully awake, wants to do whatever she can to move herself forward. And then there's the depressed, the anxious, the traumatized part of my personality that is in so much pain that it's all consuming. So there's like two parts. And I've got a choice which part that I want to connect with. Now, you can't do this, for me, I can't do this instantly. I have to do things consciously every day to think about, right, what can I do today to plan for tomorrow to help my emotional and my mental well-being? So, yeah, I've woken up this morning. Everything's good so far. I'm definitely going to dive for sure a bit later on because that's, especially because it's so hot here as well, that is naturally seems to be what happens for me, is that by, I don't know, 12 o'clock, I'm like exhausted. So I have to get everything done in the morning, which is great because I'm a morning person. But it got me thinking just about the two. One is about the illness and one is about not taking responsibility. It's not that. It's about a different side of your personality that you can tap into to help you recover and heal. It's the conscious part. The other stuff that's going on is the natural things that the body and the mind need to do to process and keep you safe. It's what it's been trained to do. So it's almost like you're creating a new, healthier, much more conscious way of being routine that is constantly preparing you for tomorrow, but while dealing with the ickiness of the withdrawal and the depression, the anxiety, the trauma. I'm just watching my little fish. And the trauma, these glow in the dark, these fish. Change the subject. The trauma, the heaviness of what it is that you're going through. There are two different things playing out here. One is conscious, trusting in yourself, knowing that if you keep on this path day by day, you're going to see significant changes. And the other is being consumed by the illness. That's when you are not in a conscious state of mind. So one is awake and one is consumed, closed off, habits, the brain and the body doing what they know to do to keep you out of harm's way, dealing with the illness. So it's almost like I feel like I've got a split personality. But I obviously haven't, but it's a good way to think about it. And the conscious part of me needs to nurture, forgive, accept, how my mental health, how my emotional and mental health is playing out. Because there is masses of vulnerability on one side and incredible strength and power on the other. So I talk about this in terms of the power of the wolf in the first book, about embracing the power of the wolf who understands its vulnerability and its strength at the same time. And it feels very much like that, being very aware of what the vulnerability is, understanding it, appreciating it, respecting it for what it is. But then on the other side, recognizing the power and the strength that it takes to manage that journey. Funny, as I'm talking, I feel as if I've got this side of the brain is really awake, and this side of the brain is going, nah, I'm gonna bring you down later. But this one's like, no, I'm just gonna keep on track. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. This will make a significant difference. Some days are going to be better than others, but I'm going to make a conscious decision to support myself and work through this and gauge what I'm doing day by day. So if I deteriorate rapidly, I know exactly where I'm at, what I'm doing, where I can get the support from. Yeah, so I thought I would share that. I thought it was really interesting. Hopefully you find it really interesting, and hopefully you can take some comfort from me sharing my experience with you. It's not easy for me to share this with you because I feel like I'm a bit nuts. Even though I'm very good at my day job, this is personal stuff that people just do not share because it leaves them vulnerable to other people's opinions and how they perceive mental and emotional well-being. But come on, my whole channel is about living life trauma-free, and to live life trauma-free, it takes some work. It takes some effort. It's not like, I'm just living life trauma-free, it's easy. Anyways, until my next raw video, whatever you're doing today, beautiful, just know that you're safe, you're loved. Whatever is happening you can manage it, you can deal with it. It might be terrifying, crazy, frightening, but there is a part of you in there that if you're watching this video, then there is part of you in there, a conscious part of you in there that's looking for help, that's looking for support, that's looking for some ideas that you can implement for yourself. And just trust and lean into that side, the inquisitive side of your personality more, because she's going to help you to recover much more quickly. So I've got lots to do. I'm writing a course, which I've got to write and then record. And I've got some calls with I've got 4 calls today with some awesome women in the UK who I haven't spoken to in a long time. So that would be great. And I'm doing a live video with with one of the co-authors from the book Rebirth, which is all about living life trauma-free. And she's had some horrendous experiences happen to her in her life. So we thought it would be good to get together and have an open discussion about our own life experiences and our own journey. Again, just to keep the conversation real, raw, to help people, to help ourselves heal, because ultimately that's what we do at the same time. But then to share that knowledge, that insight, and the wisdom, and to pass it down to other people who are willing to learn. So I'll have makeup on them for that one. I'll be all glammed up. I won't be looking like a pile of poo. All right then, beautifuls, whatever you're doing, I'm rambling. Take care. If you've got any questions, by the way, pop them below. But remember, if you're emotionally struggling, you must share how you're feeling with other people, but people who aren't going to judge you. If you feel that you're in such a degree of distress, go to your doctor or go and sit in A&E, go and sit in at the hospital and wait to see somebody. There are things you can absolutely do now to help yourself.